Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio. The Forgiveness Doctor and Michael Ryce is out of the country this week, so David Hayes is co-hosting the show with me. And for those of you who are calling in with your questions, the call-in number is 646-200-4169, or you can go into the chat room at blogtalkradio.com/EarthAngelsRadio. Or you can go to our website and click on the front homepage. There is a link to the MindShifters Radio. And our website is www.whyagain. That's WHYAGAIN.com. And we have David on here with us, so welcome, David.
Hello, Jeanie. How are you today?
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's so fabulous that you're in Florida and I'm in Missouri, and we're doing this radio show, and there are people all around the country and the world that are tapping into us through this electronic age of computers and cell phones and radios. I mean, it's really fascinating, and I have so many things that I want to talk about today and share with folks, and just to kind of give an idea about what this MindShifters radio show is about. This began back in January. Thank you so much, Carol Guy, for putting us and making this available to us. And she's the one that has the Earth Angel Radio. So thank you so very much, Carol, for that. And we meet Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and our purpose and our intention of being here is to offer support and changing and shifting how it is that your mind shows you things. It's a mind shifter program, and we're here to support you in taking a look at what it is that's going on in your world, and if there's some things that you want to change, we offer some tools in order to do this. This work is based around the work of Dr. Michael Ryce, who I'm eternally grateful for, and from his book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And also his workshop, and he does several different workshops. You can go to the website of www.whyagain.com and take a look at everything that's on there. And as Jeanie was talking the other day, there's so much that's on there. You can spend hours upon hours just researching and checking out the validity of what it is that Michael is talking about, and see for yourself what it is that resonates for you in the work that's being presented. This is about an opportunity to support you in doing some work and seeing things differently. When we see things differently, everything changes in our world. Not outside of us, so it does outside of us, and what we talk about is I have to change it from within before I can change it out there. You know, most people work on changing things outside of themselves and expect that things will change inside. But that's like painting the outside of your house and expect that the living room is going to look different. It doesn't look. You'll have to go in and do your work. We offer the tools and the support in order to do this. And this MindShifters program is just about that. What is it that we're inviting people to be part of and to learn different aspects of how their mind works and in different areas. And this work, the workshop that Michael does most frequently is, why is this happening to me again? And as he talks about, it was a workshop that he designed to a 2.5-week workshop at Heartland. And he found out that people couldn't sit still for 2.5 weeks, so he cut it down to 2.5 hours. And quite frankly, there's a lot of information that goes into it. We're going to be giving you some information and invite you to take a look and see how does that work in your life and what does it mean for you. We invite you to give us a call at 646-200-4169 and or go to the website and to the chat room if you have some questions or thoughts or answers about anything, some comments, then we welcome those. And we're going to have a couple of guests on. We're going to, let me tell you, today we're going to have Patrick O'Donnell from California that's going to make a few comments about our intensive, which are going to begin on July the 8th here at Heartland, and give you a little idea of what it's like in order to take this energy to another level. We're going to be talking about that, and then we have a guest that's going to be on tomorrow, and I think he's going to be on there today for a few minutes, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first of all, I do want to invite everyone, if you've been playing this game, Building the Brain Cells, at the beginning of the week, I invited folks to do a minimum of one worksheet every day this week, and that we would talk about that, and to do that worksheet on an inanimate object. In other words, rather than on a person, that you do it on a chair, or you do it on a computer, or you do it on a door, or you do it on your car, or an event that happened out there that's going on in your world. So that's where we're at, and that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. So, Jeanie, do we have anyone at the call line, or do we have any questions out there so far?
We do not have any questions, but, David, I did several worksheets on an inanimate object day before yesterday, and that was on the car and trying to pack it.
Yeah? And what did you discover?
It was just like total frustration and overwhelm for me. And I know this is going to be one of my 77 times 70 worksheets. I'm not at the bottom of it yet. But I think what part of it is and what came up mostly, and it's the same thing with, any kind of like clutter. It's like I like for my environment to be where I can see stuff and I think it's because I feel like I get lost in it, like I disappear among all of the stuff. And the car was so full. I mean, it was full from door to door, from front to back, from floor to ceiling. I mean, there was barely room for me in it. And it's just like, I get lost in that. And so I know I'm not finished with that issue, but that was definitely an inanimate object, and it was totally around me that day.
Well, Jeanie, if I may give you some feedback on that from my perspective of what goes on, and this is for me and what I've experienced with other folks, that we have in us a built-in program of how it is that we want things, and when we decide that that's what it is, that that's the way we want it, then there's a goal set that the mind says, this is the way that you want it. And so the mind's job is to relieve stress. And goals are what it is that move people towards creating stress so that they'll take some behavior to change it. So when we have an unconscious goal of the way that it is that we want it, and the way that it isn't that way, then the stress starts to raise up. And I also believe that there is this harmonious balance that when we see something, and I'm one of those people that can go walking into a room and I see a picture that's crooked just a little bit. Now, when I see that, I used to I've got to go straighten this. I've got to get this in alignment with the way it is that I want it. Now it's a little different for me in that it's through a choice of this is how it is that I want my life to be, and so I take care of the little things that are there. And I noticed that the mind, my projection of how it operates and works is that it's always pointing out the things that it is that I said that I want a certain way. And when those inanimate objects are not in alignment with my mind, it's irrelevant to the mind. It just creates stress. So I start to behave in order to do that. And if you've ever noticed that, you might be looking for your car keys, and as you're looking for your car keys, well, then you see something else. There's a book. I need to put this book away. Or you go to get a drink of water, and on your way to getting a drink of water, your mind will show you dozens of things in order to do before you even get to the drink of water. Back in the 20s, when there was a man that did some consulting for the steel industry and of how they could manage their people better. And this fellow came up with this suggestion that was that to have the people to put 6 things, their foremen and their supervisors put 6 things on a sheet of paper the night before that they went before going to work, of what they were going to do the next day. And when they came in the next day, they had to do each one of those to complete before they could go on to the next one. Well, Michael has created a worksheet that I think is more advanced with that, and that's called the Mind Goal Management. And when we get in charge and we start practicing setting our goals on a daily basis, and incidentally, people can go to the website and download that worksheet free. It's called the Mind Goal Management. Then we practice, and we're more in charge of our life. And so when something is outside of us that isn't in alignment with it, it's no big deal. We learn how to cancel the goals, and that's one of the things that we haven't been taught in this culture. And in those days when this fellow gave that suggestion, they automatically wrote him a check, and this is back in the 20s, for $25,000. And that was for just one little suggestion. That was a lot of money in order for someone to make that little simple thing. So we have a tool on the website called the Mind Goal Management that if you'll get that, and if you wanted to get the DVD that goes with it, it's called Getting the Stress That You Need. When you practice this with this inanimate object, Jeanie, what you were doing was practicing how to cancel goals and how to reset that, let it go. And of course, that's what the work is all about, is that we take more charge of our life and who it is that we are, and create the world that it is that we see and what we want. So fabulous! I'm so glad you did that.
Thank you. And we have a caller on the line. 949 area code. You are on the air. Who do we have, and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Patrick, calling from Dana Point, California.
Hello, Patrick. So, Patrick, I have some information for you.
You do.
Before we begin with your input here, is that the room is 15 by 7.5, and there's 2 different rooms. So the people listening won't know what that means, and Patrick does. So now I have to go complete.
Each one is 15 by 7.5?
Correct.
Or the 2 combined?
Yes. No. So anyway, that takes care of that goal that I set about informing you and keeping that, and we can talk about that at another time, because I know that you're on a schedule as well, and you called in with some purpose and intention around this little exercise that was given about doing a minimum of 1 worksheet each day on an inanimate object. Do you have time to tell that and to keep your appointment as well?
Sure.
Great.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was just listening in on that, and you were talking about the importance of the primary goals worksheet, and a lot of what I'm going through right now is focusing on my goals in order to make a life transition. And one of my things that came up was, in doing this, I need to change mailboxes and a lot of different technical stuff. And yesterday I'd set my goal to take care of 4 different items that were all computer-related. And as soon as I started into the day, my modem went out. And it triggered all kinds of things, because I couldn't – my phone is connected to the modem, and also the Internet. And, boy, for a couple minutes there, I got really frustrated. And
you mean some frustration came up in you?
Oh, tremendous amount of frustration, and I had need to blame. It had to be somebody's fault. Somebody's working on the cable. All kinds of things got triggered, and I just realized that I can't get anything done on the phone or computer, and I had a goal set for that. And it was definitely taking me away from my strength of being in a space of love. And it was. I did the worksheet, and it ended up. What came out of it was really, really quite nice. Was just I realized that by not being able to do that, it provided me an opportunity to complete some of my non-computer phone-related objectives that I had on my goals. And I was able to just collapse that goal and get back to a space of love, and manage to put in a super productive day on areas that were away from the phone or computer, packing, for instance, and inventory like that. And so it was fantastic to take that. And that's the first time I'd ever done it on an inanimate object.
Wow.
And it was amazing because I've done several since then, and I noticed that for me there was a pattern in there of needing to blame somebody, whether it be the service company provider, the manufacturer, and it was neat to go through that in the last couple of days and realize, I somewhere in my mind I connect objects or things to an end person. In other words, that person, made this or manufactured this, and so there's been a lot of work around that, and it was a really great exercise. I shall continue doing that.
I'm so glad that you did that. That was just perfect in the way that, and what you're talking about is just the ideally of what happens in our lives every day. If we plan a picnic and all of a sudden the clouds come up and and it starts to rain and we're unable to do the picnic, at least that's one perception of that, then this work is about taking a look at see what it is that come up and not to be like quote positive about, well, it's raining and it's wonderful and it's feeding that. First, let go of the anger and the hostility or disappointment that's around that, and then select again, or select something different. And that you modeled that perfectly, Patrick, by canceling the way that it is that you wanted it to be. And then when you did that, you came from your highest intelligence, which said, well, you know what, there's some other things that you can do. When you recognized that you were into the blame part of it, that's the non-being mind wanting to determine that there's something else out there that determines how it is that I feel. And fabulous job. Did you hear Verdi the other day talking about her computer incident?
No, I wasn't able to.
Well, we'll talk
my
about
computer wasn't working.
She had a. Huh?
I was going to say she had a great experience.
Yeah, same thing around computers. And the thing is that those are just things that are just going on. The mind, though, wants to, its job is to solve and to resolve stress. And if the only way to do that is to either accomplish what it is that we have set, or we have to cancel it. And in our culture and in this society today, this is the first information that I have ever received about canceling the goal. I've never, has anyone ever, in all of the years that I've been doing this work, ever talked about how to cancel a goal. They talk about altering and making it happen and doing this. And when we do that coming from hostility or fear, then we're creating more stress, and we can't. And that's the reason we go, the hell with this. I'm finished with this. The word procrastination, most people associate the word procrastination as a, quote, bad word. Stop procrastinating. Well, if I'm doing something harmful to myself, like I might be over-drinking, or I might be watching too much TV, or I might be doing that, procrastinate that. Procrastinate doing that. Now the word changes the whole meaning. Now, if the only reason that we procrastinate in doing things is because we have too many goals set. When we have so many goals set, then the mind says it shuts down in a way to manage its stress to get back to a place where it can take on one thing at a time. So, nice work.
Boy, ain't that for sure.
Yeah,
that's really it's a great tool because had I just continued on with that source of frustration and not been able to collapse it and realize that the goal originally and always is to get to a certain place at the end of the day. And in my past, before learning these tools, I would have just got stuck in hostility and fear and maybe went to TV or a behavior that would have been non-productive.
Well,
and in learning...
It would have been productive, Patrick. It would have been productive in reducing the stress. It would have done its
exactly,
job.
But
it would not have...
It wouldn't have brought me any closer to my original goal. And,
that's correct.
And that was,
that's correct.
My point is that we set these goals, whether conscious or unconscious, and then stress starts getting created, and we don't necessarily link our behavior or our feelings in the moment with a previous goal that we had. And
that's correct. That's what the tool is.
Yeah,
and that's what the tool is, and that's why you've been using the tools long enough now that you're building the brain cells, and the building the brain cells is raising the level of consciousness that this is what's going on, so then you can interact at that particular point and make a choice rather than come from decision. And that's what this is all about. And we may talk a little bit more about that. And I know that you're on a schedule, and you were going to talk a little bit about your experience of coming to Heartland. And what's it been, 2.5 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah.
I think it was 2.5, 3 years ago. Real quick, one last thing on the worksheet as a tool. They have worksheets that are online, a 7-step reality management worksheet web page. And I highly advise people to at least take a look at that and see if that's a different strategy of doing the worksheet that might open up some doors and help people to understand that. I know that recently I started doing it and found it very beneficial because it breaks the questions down to one at a time and really helps you stay with the process. Both are great. Both are invaluable tools. So for whatever that's worth, if somebody's interested in that.
I think that's a great
Heartland, yes, I'm coming to Heartland, and I wanted to share just a couple minutes about what I experienced out of Heartland. And where I was before was when I came to Heartland, I had recently been unemployed. I had been unemployed for about 2 months from a nice lucrative career managing architecture projects. We designed dealerships, Lexus dealerships, and ethanol manufacturing facilities. And so that was, I had a lot of my identity wrapped up in that. And so there was a lot of concern about where I was going with my life. And when I got to Heartland, I can't tell you how many things I actually learned. There was the environment itself lends itself so nicely to doing this work. There seems to be times, and sometimes it's hard to create words for what you experience. But I know that for me, one of the most impactful things about doing the work is there seems to be a synergy when we're doing this work with other people. In other words, I can actually be looking at somebody in the eyes and be working through a blockage of truth. In other words, if I'm basing truth on absolute, clear, conscious, present love, and something comes up other than that for me, the dynamic between two people that I've found so beneficial is there are often times where I can look into somebody's eyes and they are holding a space of love, and their thoughts and their memories about the situation that's causing me stress are absent because they were never part of that experience per se. And so for them to hold a space of love and for me to process through and be in a space of love, oftentimes there's a third element that takes place and being able to release things. In other words, that other person that we're working with is like a buoy that's when you're out on a stormy sea and you don't know where you're at, that buoy of having somebody present with you is invaluable. And I just love that aspect of the work. I was able to be present and go through things that I didn't really know were there, but knowing that there was somebody there supporting me, I was able to delve into those issues, what I perceived as scary at the time. And on a lot of occasions they were. On a lot of occasions they were red herrings.
Yeah. And so
such a benefit.
Yeah, and so I invite you to know that they did not cause anything to come up in you. That all they did was resonate, that they were the trigger and the gift that resonated something that was in you that came up, that it resonated, and that they held the space of understanding, of kindness, of thoughtfulness, of intelligence for you to have the space in order to process through that. That the only kind of thing that can come up are things that are within ourselves that we hold an energy of, and that they hold the space for us to do that. And I invite you to notice that you did the same thing for other people as well, that you were very instrumental, and I like how you said that about the synergy of all of it, that as a group of people with the same intention and purpose, then there's healing that goes on that's so unconscious, unable to come to the conscious level, and it's just automatically resolved and dissolved. So very good.
Oh, and there's a certain elegance to it when everybody is doing their work collectively and at the same time individually. There's a flow of energy that is so profound as far as growth is concerned, and opening up, really holding a presence to be loving and conscious of it is such a wonderful thing, as to be able to open ourselves up and not feel those normal things that, for me, I felt in society is that there was always a protection element. I couldn't disclose truth or
something. So, Patrick, I know I'm interrupting you with this, okay? And I think this is an important part, though, that all they're doing is the same thing that's out there that goes on in the world. And when they opened it up for you, that you held the space, that you were there to do your work, and that you were doing your healing, that they were just there, and that you opened the space for them as well, and that you did that was your healing. It's not like that we've been taught to believe that the world is doing something to us, or that out there in the mind wants to reverse that. And what you did was that when they brought it up, rather than like they held the space, you were willing to do the work in order to process through that. And that's really key.
Absolutely. And since I left there, I developed a contact with that still small voice in myself, which we all have different wording for it. Mm-hmm. And that has been so helpful since then. One of the tools that I am so grateful to learning when I was there was to actually, Michael does a process where we look at our core values and create a primary purpose goal. And in doing that particular exercise, what I thought I valued and what I really, at a core level, value, I was able to draw some distinctions there that were really clarifying for me, in the sense that I was able to develop a conscious life purpose and to follow that. And that was just wonderful to know that as I go through my day, my energy is in alignment with what my primary purpose in life is, and I don't have all the other behaviors coming in. I guess when I operate from my core values, I'm able to stay in line with what my primary purpose is. And for me, the benefit of that, especially at an interval where I had become unemployed and was single and not really clear about where life was going, that tool just was invaluable for me.
Good. And you're on your way out here at the first of the month to spend a few months out here and to reinforce and to support developing those tools to another level. And you brought up some good points, that when folks leave of doing one of the experience, we offer the support and help to continue doing those. One of those ways is through building the brain cells game, as well as staying in touch with other mind shifter groups and or forming them. So thank you very much, Patrick. I look forward to your arrival here. I know that you said that you have an appointment. You need to take care of some things. Any last thing that you would like to add about people coming to the intensives? Whoop, did we already lose him? Am I there? Jeanie, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, he's disappeared. He's off of the switchboard, so I'm not real sure.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you, Patrick, for that input and that support. And we do invite folks to go to the website and check us out. We're going to be having, if you have some questions or thoughts about it, and everyone does, everyone has considerations about doing that. And that's just the mind's way of holding on to what it is that it has stored in it. So if you have some questions, please email us or give us a call or do it in the chat room. And you can call us at 646-200-4169. Jeanie, do we have any other callers or anybody on the line or any questions from the chat room?
No, we don't right now. I do want to mention again that Carol Guy has a website. It's www.earthangelsradio, and that's angels plural, earthangelsradio.com. And she is the one that made it available for us to be able to do the radio show Monday through Friday, and she's awesome to work with, and we thank her for that. And on her website, she now has a link for people to donate to support keeping Earth Angels Radio going. And a portion, if you mention that it's supporting the MindShifters Radio show, a portion will come to the MindShifters Radio, and then, of course, the rest is to her to keep Earth Angels Radio going. And we want to thank her tremendously from the bottom of our heart for making this available for us. And I don't have any other questions out there right now. I would like to mention, too, though, since we're talking about intensives for this year, that on this tour, Michael and I have started offering, if someone orders $300 worth of product, and that does not include shipping and handling, that along with your product will also send you a certificate worth $300 towards an intensive for this year. So it's for the intensives this year, and that's to give you incentive to come on out and take your process to a deeper level, and it also gives you an incentive to order the product. And so basically you're getting the product for free because we're sending you a certificate for the exact amount along with it. So we encourage people to do that. The worksheet that Patrick was talking about for the purpose, you can go to our website, whyagain.com, and click on Download Worksheets. And the one he was talking about is titled Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment. And it's a process to walk you through to see what your secondary and primary purpose is and how to start operating in alignment with that purpose.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jeanie. And I'm looking at the time, and I'm thinking that we're going to have a guest tomorrow that is scheduled. Is Ari Budnick, our chef for the intensives. He comes here and spends several weeks with us. He's going to be on tomorrow. He may be on there listening now. He was going to see if it was going to be available. Ari, if you are there, just press 1, and Jeanie will know that your number has popped up. And if not, well then, just to let folks know that Ari is a raw food chef in addition to a food chef, and he creates the most incredible foods, and he has more knowledge about foods and from so many sources. He's been a chef for 25, 30 years. He's a well-renowned chef. He lives in Chicago. And we're going to have him on tomorrow. So if folks have some questions about food or food preparation and how it works and what we're going to be doing with him, Ari will be here. And he also participates in the intensives as well as preparing the food. And he'll have a few testimonies about what it is that it's like being there. Is he on, Jeanie? Do you know?
I don't recognize any of the numbers that are on the switchboard right now, and he hasn't put his hand up if he's one of them. So I don't think he's out there. But Ari is phenomenal. I mean, he is like working with him in the kitchen is like having a party among food.
Yeah, it's so incredible that one of the things that we do, and we advocate use of on-hand experience of doing it. So everyone gets an opportunity to work into the kitchen, to learn about the foods, because when we do this on an experiential level, the more senses that we use, smelling and touch and feeling and tasting and so forth, it makes that resonant, it locks that resonance into our system, that energy that's there. That's one of the reasons why when we recommend people to do the worksheets, when we're doing them and we're writing, when we're watching and we're listening to something, then it resonates and builds the brain cells much quicker. So I don't know. His number is 312. His area code is 312 if it's there. If it's not within, I would like to share with you. Okay. Anyway, if it's not within, I would like to share with the audience, and if there aren't any other questions, some thoughts around this resonance and what does it mean. And, I never know what it is that when I do something, the effect that it's going to have in the world. And I do know that everything that I do does have an effect. So today I received a phone call from a dear cousin of mine, wonderful, sweet, loving guy, just really, really fabulous. And him and I have been close growing up. And a couple of weeks ago when I was visiting Louisville with him, I got together with him and I talked with him. And he's a little still stuck in the 70s, though, in my opinion, when it comes to electronics. He still has a beeper. Now, it's okay to have a beeper, and I know people have beepers, and I've been asking him and razzed him about coming and updating a little bit. So a couple of weeks ago, I decided that I was going to call his beeper and just put in the number 143. I knew that he knew what that was because him and I worked together years ago, and we had when beepers first came out. And so 143 indicates that someone says, I love you. And I called, for whatever reason, I called his beeper number every day for about a week, 10 days, and put it 143, and that was it. So I called him the other day and let him know that it was me that was doing it. He said, oh, I thought it was my niece, Bonnie. And he told me today what had happened, that they had a little, because she would often do that 143. So he thought it was from her. Well, he informed me today that several months ago they had a little falling out, and they weren't talking to each other. So when he got this message of 143, he thought it was her. And he started building the brain cells around it and letting go of whatever that it was. Now, he wasn't aware of that until we talked today. And if you're listening, Terry, if I get this incorrect, just press 1 and you can get on the line and you can tell me the whole story. But actually, the crowd would love to hear it directly from you. So what Terry told me was that he went over there and they reconciled. They got back together. They connected with this, all based on, though, what he believed was a message that was coming from her. Awesome. So whatever it is that we do, isn't that neat? So whatever it is that we do, it has an effect. And, earlier we were talking about the still, quiet voice and getting that voice to resonate louder. We often have, the mind is just, we've been taught to listen to that, and there's so many different things that it's throwing at us all the time that we get caught up into. And there's the stress, and that's why we collapse, and that's why we find different things to shift so that we can do things, so we can feel better with it, so to speak. So the thoughts and the actions that I have and that I carry resonate, like throwing pebble in a pond, there's ripples, and there's a rippling effect, and we have no idea what it's going to do and how it's going to affect folks. So that all stems from just sending it out there. You know, we send out love, love comes back. We send out anger, anger comes back. We send out hostility, hostility comes back. That's the law of resonance, and we live in a universe that operates underneath these laws. It's impossible to create anything other than that. If I've got a lot of anger and hate coming at me, if I've got a lot of disappointment, if I've got a lot of sadness, it's because the universe is saying you have some energy in you that needs to be removed. And we're going to and it's going to continue to send it to us until we deal with it. And we can either deal with it on a conscious level and on a healing spiritual level, or we can deal with it based on what it is that we've been told that what we need to be doing, and there's this and there's that. Or you can look at it from another perspective. And as soon as you tell the truth about it, and when I say to tell the truth, when you tap into the energy of who it is that you are, that you're this incredible spiritual being, that you have a body, and that you have feelings, and that you are not them, that you are in charge of that, then your life shifts. Then you get to see things differently, much in the way that Patrick was talking about it and the way Jeanie was talking about it. As soon as recognizing that this is what's going on, breathe, let go of that energy, then the higher intelligence will guide you to do something different. Just as Patrick said, oh, well, you know, I have other things that I can do. Cancel it out. So I don't know if Terry is on there. Terry Hayes, this is my cousin, or if he's his number will be 502 area code. So if you have anyone in there, Jeanie, that's wanting to talk, if Terry'd like to make a comment, fine. And or if Terry Bowling is out there, or anyone else, any questions, or anyone in the chat room with anything, Jeanie?
Nobody's asking questions. Oh, I just saw a hand go up. So I'm going to turn on 815. I'm going to turn you on here in just a second. I did want to mention one thing, that this has been pretty cool. I'm here in St. Augustine with my parents, and the other day we were walking across the boardwalk to go down to the beach. And the boardwalk goes across where they have like these dunes with all this scrubby brush and stuff that holds the sand, you know, to keep it from washing away and stuff. And you're not allowed to walk out there. It's a protected area. And we were walking across the boardwalk, and my mom said, oh, I bet there's snakes in here. And within 2 steps, there was this huge, humongous rattlesnake over in the dunes area. And we were like, oh, my gosh. And so I told my mom, I said, you don't have to manifest this kind of stuff, you know, because it was just within 2 steps of her saying it. Well, then earlier today, I was helping them go out online. They're not real computer savvy on the Internet, and I was helping them pull up some of their stuff. They wanted to look and see what bills were due while they were going to be gone and everything. And so when I pulled up their electric bill, my mom was like, oh, my gosh, you know, she got kind of, and I was like, Mom, you don't need that energy. I said, pay your bill with pleasure. And she goes, no, I don't think so. And I said, you remember how quickly you manifest? I said, you send out that anger energy, it's going to come right back and bite you. I said, let it go. You don't need it. And she goes, I hear you. So I thought that was pretty cool. And so 815, you're on the air. Yes, I am. Thank you.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Area code 815, you're on.
Yes, it's Dr. Tim.
It's Dr. Tim. Tim, I must tell you that is just a fabulous little talk. That is so cool. I invite everyone to go to your website and to listen to that. Thank you so very much. Very insightful, very, very helpful and supportive.
Well, I'm glad you like it. It's obviously a product of many years of working with Michael's work and Guy Finley and Krishnamurti and a lot of other people and weaving it all together. I just wanted to make the comment that when you were talking before about learning and having the resistance, Guy Finley is frequently talking about how lessons ride in on the back of events, and that everything that happens to me that I have resistance for is carrying a lesson for me. Not only that, but the more resistance I have to an event that happens, the greater the lesson there is in it for me. And the more I resist it, the more I push away and reject the lesson. And the only way for me to learn the lesson is for me to relax into the situation that I don't want. I can't learn from anyone or anything unless I make myself subordinate to it, unless I approach that situation and say, well, what I know right now is either only partially true or completely wrong, otherwise I wouldn't be in pain. And if I put myself in that position, every time something happens that I don't like, then I open the space to learn the lesson. And if I learn the lesson from a situation that I don't like, I become a different order of person. So the next time something like that happens, I have a chance to act differently.
So very true. You know, I was looking up the meaning of lesson, and one of the definitions is to teach, to instruct. And so often, you know, some perceptions, Tim, you may know, is that people have this thing about this word lessons, that I have to learn something. And what we're doing is really teaching and instructing our own mind of how it is that we want it to be. And as you pointed out, that the stronger that it comes to us, and Michael does that illustration, as you may remember, of is like pushing a spring down. You know, the more energy that I put in to resist it, the more energy is going to come back for me to learn and to give different instructions to teach myself differently about the way that it is that I'm seeing stuff. So, very nice, very good. Good. And so how are things in your world?
Things are going
How's
well.
your mom?
She's doing much better. She's on the mend after her hip surgery a week ago Monday. And she's in a nice rehabilitation facility with charming people, skilled people helping her.
Great.
So that it allows a little bit more time.
When do I get to hear the rest of your 30-minute talk for the folks that didn't know that when you listen to his talk, you'll understand what I mean. When do you finish your 30-minute talk?
Well, did you listen to one that started in the middle? Is that what you're referring to, or did you listen to one that...
The one at Unity. I listened to the one at Unity.
Okay. Originally, when they put it on the website, they cut out the first part of the talk, so I had to reconstruct it and put it up. But if you listen to it now off of my website or the Unity site, the whole, it's about a 20-minute talk. There's a meditation prior to that. So there's a Guy Finley story with that leads into a meditation, and it uses Michael's interpretation from the ancient Aramaic about the definition of prayer, that being that to pray is to set a trap for God. And and I weave that through the meditation, and then I start the talk, which is titled Forgiveness. Who really needs it? So it's all up there now.
I will go back and listen to that then and get the full spectrum of that then. Sounds good.
And I plan on putting a link to it on our site, too, because I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was really, really nice. Very nice.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Anything go in on the from your MindShifters group the other night?
Oh, yeah, there's always stuff going on at that group. We had 10 people on Tuesday night.
Great.
We ended up watching the first couple segments of Communication. Did you hear what I think I said? and then we had quite an active discussion following that about what are the concepts that are being discussed and how it can be applied in people's lives. And then I did a worksheet on some of because nobody else wanted to volunteer to work a worksheet. So I did a worksheet in front of the group, and everybody could do their own or work along with me. about all of the crisis emotions that were going on Saturday when my mom was in the emergency room all day. And so that was very productive. And again, even if people are not doing their own worksheet, it's quite helpful. It brings out different aspects of the process if they follow along when somebody else does their own. And so that's part of that synergy you're talking about earlier in the conversation today, the healing energy that gets rolling in a room when, two or more people are together looking at their own stuff. And if you have a tool as powerful as the reality management worksheet and a deeper level of understanding of all of the reasons for the separate steps, you get a lot of stuff moving. And so that's why I encourage people to start their own MindShifters group if they don't have one. And I encourage people, if they're not, if they don't feel comfortable doing that, to find somebody else that they know that's a leader and encourage that person to start a group. Because all you need is 2 or 3 people and 1 or 2 of Michael's videos and a worksheet, and you're off and running.
Yep. Yep, so very true. Yep. And, we hold the space that there are more and more people through this radio show, through this venue of communicating with more people. There's going to get to a place, and you've heard this before, Tim, is that the energy that is going to reach critical mass. And when it reaches critical mass, and Michael talks about this, that this is the one thing that on many occasions has supported him in continuing doing the work. For he has his issues that come up as well, and many times it's like, give this up. There's no reason for it. And he talks about what Yeshua said, a little leaven leavens the whole loaf, that the more people that are doing this, then it's going to reach to a critical mass where everyone on the planet is going to be conscious, have that experience and that consciousness of forgiveness and what it's about. And when that happens, then there's going to be a major, major shift in people's lives and what it is that's going on. Kind of like, and I use this analogy, whether it's correct or incorrect, I don't know. I talk about that, it's only been 600 years ago, 700 years ago, that the major majority of people on the planet thought the Earth was flat. And in just 600 years, I thought about that before, and I said, how did everybody get an understanding that the Earth was round? They didn't have the communication like we have today with the Internet and with telephones and all of this. How did everybody on the planet get it so quickly that the Earth was round? How did that happen? And that's not very long ago when that went on, and there were lots of people. And to me, that's the same thing as what's going on now, is we continue to build what it is that we want to make a difference with it, then it is going to make a difference in the planet. And if I can, I'm going to use this right now to talk about it in the book. Michael asked the question, will you make the difference? Tell me the weight of a snowflake, a hawk asked a wild dove. Nothing more than nothing, was the answer. In that case, I must tell you a marvelous story, said the hawk. I sat on the branch of a fir close to its trunk. It began to snow, not heavily, not a raging blizzard. No, just like in a dream, without any violence. Since I had nothing better to do, I counted the snowflakes settling on the twigs and needles of my branch. Their number was exactly 3,741,952 when the next snowflake dropped onto the branch. Nothing more than nothing, as you say, and the branch broke off. Having said that, the hawk flew away. The dove, since Noah's time, an authority on peace, thought about the story for a while and finally said with resolve, perhaps only one person's voice is lacking for peace to come about in the world. And so I think it is with us. as each person does a little bit of forgiveness and a little bit of forgiveness and sends that energy out there, then it's going to get to this place where all of a sudden there is this universe of peace and love and kindness and thoughtfulness. So, anything else that you'd like to add, Tim?
Well, not just that I echo what you had talked about earlier in your sending your message, your text message to your cousin, and the ripple effect it has when we just do the next right thing. And in each moment we choose to teach only love. We choose to reconnect our conscious awareness with our source as love. And then we act from that space. It just keeps going. And that's as I mentioned in the talk, what if this thing I call my free will amounts to nothing more than what I can choose to focus my conscious awareness on in any moment? And if I do that, I choose to focus my conscious awareness on my source as love, and then what words and actions come from me is coming from that awareness that my source is love. The ripples that get sent out from that will affect this person, affects that person, is always going to be coming back to me. And so I can choose the anger and the hostility and the fear, or I can choose the energy of love. And whichever one I choose today will be coming back to me in ripples tomorrow. So choose wisely.
Very well said. Yeah, the rewards from that, you might be able to imagine, Tim, how I felt when I heard my cousin say that he had this reconciliation with his niece. It was like, it was so wonderful. So I get to feel that. That resonance was in me. It's like, that's what this is worth. It's worth it. It is worth it. The mind wants to have it. What's the reason to doing this? Why should I want to do this? And that's the culture and the society we live in. And when we live in the consciousness of love, as you put it very well, then we resonate more of that, and that's the world that we create. So we have about 2.5 minutes, I think, Jeanie. Do you have anything that you would like to add? Again, I'll just let folks know that tomorrow, Ari, the chef for Heartland, will be on the air tomorrow. And if you have some questions or thoughts or anything that you would like to add to the program, we welcome it. If you want to go to the chat room and ask some questions, well, then please do. And is there anything else that you would like to cover, Jeanie?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Just want to invite everybody to tune in Monday through Friday, MindShifters Radio with Dr. Michael Ryce, and we have one more day this week, and so tune in and listen to us tomorrow and be part of us, ask questions, make comments. And, Tim, we definitely appreciate your support, and you've been at Heartland before, and you have been as much support to other people at Heartland as perhaps they have been to you, and we just want to thank you for your continued support and for doing the support group there in Chicago or in Crystal Lake, and for everything that you do.
Well, it's my honor and my privilege and my benefit, so thank you all.
Yeah, maybe we'll get you back on here again, Tim. We can talk about coming to the intensive. And again, to complete it up, the number is 646. 200-4169. That if you want to put that in your cell phone so that you have it logged in, be able to hook us up anytime, go to the website of www.whyagain.com and check out the schedule of the different things that we're doing. There's the Building the Brain Cells game. You have our support. You have our willingness. We are there to support you. And, we were asked that you support us because that's what it is that we do. We're in this together. Thank you again, Jeanie, and thank you, Carol, for making this available to us, and everyone for participating and being part of the program today.
Absolutely. Thank you, David.
You're most welcome. Talk with you guys again. Namaste.
Okay. Bye-bye.